Hi, thanks for coming out here tonight. My name is Nathan Henshaw. I'm from the Political Science Department, College of Liberal Arts, and my PhD advisor is Dr. Chris Jensen. And tonight I'm going to apply some of my European politics research to the American debate and understanding how populism can play a role. So in Europe, there's a long tradition of populism, very successful candidates that have gone on with Berlusconi, Kaczynski, Le Pen, and Farage in the United Kingdom. But populist politicians and candidates, they have their own way of communicating. And that's kind of thrown a lot of people for a loop here in American politics. This is the first time we've had a populist candidate make it to the second round. But what is populism? Ideologically, it's ambiguous. It's neither on the left nor the right. This time we had Sanders on the left and Trump on the right. It's neither good nor bad. There's no judgment on populism. It's simply a different approach to politics. It's an emotion-driven approach, though, as anyone who watched the debate has noticed. Anger replaces specific policy debates. Okay, and for supporters, anger is the policy. It's anger at the system. So, like the issue with this is that the policy debate will largely be talking about the system, and how the system, could be rigged, so to speak. And lastly, a sense of victimhood in an unjust system, the sense that everyone's getting ahead, that everyone's winning, except me, except my group. In general, trade deals bad, immigration bad, things were better before. But there's also naturally a contradictory viewpoint that arises with populism. I took these quotes from a CNN interview that were taken in Frenchville, Pennsylvania, a couple weeks ago. So the first, the government cannot be trusted, is responsible for many of our problems, but it must do more to help us. There's a natural contradiction to that. If a government isn't doing good and the government is responsible, why would you want it to do more? Likewise, another comment was, if they gave everybody $100,000, that would have kickstarted a lot of people, which of course it would have, 100 grand. And this was in reference to the bank bailouts. But there was no thought to what this would do to inflation, and there's no thought about the actual amounts of this, which would have been 10 times as more than what the bank bailouts themselves were. And so you get this natural contradictory viewpoint. And in the primary elections, it tends to work. Populist candidates can actually perform in the primary elections because populism tends to speak to primary voters better than what a more mainstream approach will, because primary voters are less moderate in their viewpoints. That results in the large and boisterous crowds that you saw in both Sanders and Trump. But in the general election, though, the two sides tend to speak past one another. And so we have to make a difference between the primary debates and the elections and the general election and the debates. And so this leads to frustration on both sides. Populists feel like they're being talked down to. And they distrust mainstream politicians as it is, so there's a double effect there. While mainstream candidates don't understand the emotion and anger at the system, that is the policy debate for a populist candidate and his or her supporters. And so both sides end up being a bit frustrated with this. So I took these quotes from the first debate, which hopefully everyone saw here. So Clinton said, "I hope the fact checkers are turning up tonight, or turning up the volume and working really hard. By the end of this evening, I think I'll be blamed for everything that has ever happened." If anyone remembers what Trump's response was immediately after, was why not? Then he followed that up with saying that all talk, no action, sounds good, never going to work. Our country is suffering because of people like Secretary Clinton. Secretary Clinton is embodying the system for this. And so you look and you say, where's the policy there? But the policy is the anger. And so when they're trying to understand why the effect that this has, that is the policy. So in the general election voters are much less likely to embrace populism because they're more moderate, they're more diverse, and they tend to be less angry at the status quo. Populist candidates, they run a risk in the general elections because the rhetoric that they employed in the primary, it starts to backfire in the general elections. And while the emotions and anger, they can't be prepared, So you can't over-prepare for debates like this. At the same time, it leads to a candidate appearing to lack an overall preparation for the debate, which was a common criticism during the first debate. And Trump let himself go off topic in the first debate. Had that been a primary debate, it would have been a much more receptive audience for that. But what can we expect from the final two coming up here? Clinton benefits from her status quo, from her comfort zone. She's more comfortable talking about policy. That's where she feels most comfortable. And strategically, she needs to stick to that. And she needs to let Trump show his anger in this. Trump, on the other hand, he runs a bit of a risk from his comfort zone. Strategically, he needs to be natural, but at the same time, he needs to make sure that he doesn't get too much off topic. And what worked in the primaries, it won't work in the general election. And this has been borne out with the way, from what I hear, that Chris Christie is supposed to be helping him in the next one. So remember to vote, and thanks for coming out tonight.